Hello, everyone, and welcome to the International Conference of Economic Management and Green Development. My name is Dr. Chinny, and in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking us through corporate strategic management with particular focus on how we can foster innovative business degree structures. So, starting off with the context of my talk, I want to start by laying a foundation on the importance of ensuring that within a higher education environment or within a higher education study for learners or practitioners who embark on higher education study, it's important that institutions make the habit of creating an environment that enables learners to not just identify where their strengths lie, but also identify where developmental needs lie. When I say developmental needs, I am making reference to personal needs as well as organizational needs. In doing this, we would enable learners and practitioners who have embarked on a higher education study, would enable them to build a brand and also create an opportunity for them to begin to identify measurable strategic parameters on how to impact the workplace environment. Therefore, corporate partnership shouldn't just be an initiative that we consider. It's got to be a practice within higher education, a core element where learners and practitioners have opportunities to critically reflect on wider organizational issues and, of course, explore ethical real world solutions. To reinforce the points that I made on the previous slide in terms of the context of this study, the rationale or the key reason that is driving this particular study and my presentation is a concern that has come out from recent studies on business degree graduates not quite having the confidence and the stamina to approach the culture and the expectations and also the demands of the workplace environment. This presentation and my study is an extension of a recent study that I carried out earlier this year, and it forms part of an innovative business degree structure which is designed to bridge the gap on developing corporate partnerships between businesses and higher education institutions, particularly for the purpose of creating confident, visionary business leaders who would be able to take on the challenge and address the demands of organizational practice. So in the next few slides, I'm going to be demonstrating, making reference to a particular level 7, a master's degree business program, the steps that are taken to ensure that corporate partnership is a core element of that particular business degree structure. So what this slide shows is the process that is taken within this specific master's degree program to enable learners who are enrolled onto this program into becoming business leaders and to enrich business practice. So what this slide shows is a model of strategic corporate partnership. So in the next few slides, I would explain what each of these circles, so the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one, what each of these circles mean and how the learners who are enrolled onto this particular master's degree program are enabled to enrich business practice. So in terms of the first stage of the learners study. So once they get enrolled onto the program, within the first, you could call it the first module within that particular degree, the particular business degree program, its learners are enabled to make informed decisions. So they are making decisions on how to impact business practice or enrich business practice. So they are making decisions on how to do that with the knowledge and the skills that they gain. Now, we've got to take into consideration that this particular master's business degree program is delivered in the UK, United Kingdom, and it attracts a wide range of learners from across the globe. So it's important that a scene is created or a common ground is created for the learners to boost their confidence within the environment or within the culture. Many of them would have come into the UK for the very first time. So as part of the introductory sections of their enrollment onto this program, and to ensure that you understand the concept around corporate partnership, they are given an understanding of what the labor market means and what it entails within the UK context. So what I've done with this slide is to provide a snapshot or a summary of the key points that are highlighted in the discussion around the UK labour market and what shapes the labour market. Now, some of the things that are highlighted, coming from a common ground for the learners, is that they would already have some understanding or knowing that the labour market is broadly driven by the economic climate. So it's getting the learners to begin to think about some of the factors that shape the labor market and knowing and acknowledging or possibly recognizing some of these factors, things like the Brexit, COVID-19, aftermath of the COVID-19, and the Russian-Ukraine war, and some other factors that at that point in time may be contributing to some degree to the labor market. So having an understanding of this would position the learners, or recognizing this because they would have some understanding of it anyway. So, but is recognizing the effects of some of these factors on the labor market, would put them in positions to begin to identify what parameters do they need to put in place to ensure that they rightly position themselves in engaging fruitfully with the workplace environment. Now, remember that the goal is creating capable, confident, and visionary business leaders. So we're trying to create graduates of this particular master's business degree structure into becoming visionary business leaders. So having gained that knowledge, like I explained, and some degree, some level of skills, like I explained in the previous slide, the next phase of this innovative, if you want to call it that, business degree structure is to now begin to equip the learners with the skills that they require to engage actively with the workplace environment. And one of the ways we do this in liaison with businesses, so a liaison between the higher education institution where this business degree program, master's business degree program is delivered, liaison between the institution and businesses to identify what tools the learners could use to self-evaluate themselves. So they have the task to apply a range of skills assessment audit tools to clearly not just to identify their strengths and areas of improvement, but also to review their strengths in connection with areas of improvement to identify potentials which are essential for them to actively engage with the workplace or businesses. So this slide provides, a snapshot of some of the common tools that learners are presented with to self-evaluate themselves. Now we are guessing that we are very much familiar with the SWOT analysis or the SWOT tool. Now, sometimes it may not necessarily be a common tool that's got defined quadrants like the SWOT tool or the personality MBTI tool. It could be where the learners are presented with questions that will get them to think, that will get them to reflect on maybe decisions they might have taken in the past or possibly actions that they are currently taking, question why they do what they do versus what they are hearing and what conclusions they may be drawing. So, in view of these reflections, they are identifying parameters, they are working out the best approach or strategies they may possibly use to actively engage with the workplace environment. And of course, don't forget, we are trying to enrich business practice. So still part of the, the process or the stage of equipping learners with the skills and the tools to actively engage with the workplace. Ethics is one of the key things that is discussed or is presented to the learners. Now, as you can see on this slide, it explains the importance or the relevance around ethics. So one of the key reasons why ethics is brought into play, into conversation and into critical discussion with the students is enabling them to begin to see the commitment that they are making, not just to themselves, the commitment that they would be making or currently making to the institution where this business degree study is taking place. And of course, question or review the commitment that they're going to be making to a particular business and the stakeholders associated with that particular organization. So what we're trying to do with ethics is to capture the learner's view on ethics, and if and where possible, slay any sacred cows, like you might say, but also to identify what the learners might view as situational ethics, question it. So there will be a range of hands-on activities. The learners are exposed to questioning, why do you do what you do? Is that the right thing to do, or is that the common thing that it's been done? So they begin to understand why they take certain actions and why certain actions could have a positive or negative knock-on effect on a particular organization. So I think one of the things, like I've stated on the slide, is getting the learners to address possible challenges around handling ethical issues. So there are active discussions going on amongst the group of learners. We've got hands-on activities on where the learners have an opportunity to be exposed to what they may do if they are faced with a particular situation. The most appropriate action to take to address a particular ethical issue. And of course, they are beginning to grow and become confident in their decision making tactics. Now, at this stage or phase of this business degree structure, now before they get to this phase, remember, as I explained in the previous slide, the learners have been exposed or enabled to acquire business knowledge around business principles, around financial management or improvement, operational practice, human resources, undertaking a project. So they acquire knowledge on key business principles. And then they move on to being equipped with the skills to actively engage with the workplace environment. And don't forget that there is consistent and continuous collaboration between this higher education institution and businesses. Of course, corporate partnership is a core element behind this business degree structure. At this phase of the students or learners journey into their study on this business degree qualification, they now begin to develop the personal and professional competencies that they need to make decisions within a particular business organization. So they have an opportunity to really apply theory into practice. Okay, now one way to do this is having identified or chosen an organization to actually work in while they are acquiring their master's business degree qualification. Within an organization that they have chosen to apply that theory into practice, they've got to identify an issue or a live project to carry out within that organization. Okay, some of the things I've explained on this slide is the stages on how they identify that organizational issue and what they do with that issue that they identify. So there is just some form of negotiation going on between the learner or the student and that organization, ensuring that the area of focus that they have identified is something that is relevant and a live issue within that business. So there's got to be consultation going on between that learner and that organization. And this is a skill I have seen over a period of time grow in the learners. They get good at consulting. They begin to identify what works for a good consultation and what should they not necessarily bring into conversation during the consultation process. Okay, so what I'll try to do in the next few slides is to explain what I mean by the learners being prepared, what I mean by them meeting people or meeting and knowing people, and of course the mutual gain around that area of focus or that issue they have identified within that particular organization to focus on. Okay, so still within this phase of the learners developing personal and professional competences. And if you recall in the previous slide where I said being prepared, what this means is learners being prepared to justify to their chosen organization why the issue they have identified is relevant to focus on. So this is where students build the skills of knowing how to present a good business case. Now, in doing this, they've got to provide what you might call evidence. Now, evidence could stem from previous studies. It could stem from the organization's competitors. It's providing reasons why why the learners feel that particular organization under consideration should focus on that issue they have identified. So this is a skill that they would have developed over a period of time in the different modules within this particular business degree structure. So they have an opportunity to now put that into practice, provide reasons, justifications in terms of why an area of focus is relevant to the organization and provide those reasons to that organization in a professional format. Right, so as explained in the previous slide, the learners are beginning to develop personal and professional competencies in knowing how to identify a relevant area of focus within an organization. The following phase in the learner's journey as part of their study is where they begin to question and actively reflect on their workplace practice. Now, they're going to be working in an organization, they wouldn't work in isolation. So a skill that we harness or develop in the learners and they get to apply in the workplace environment is a skill of collaboration and of course stakeholder relationship. So as part of presenting their business case to that organization, they've got to get good at or build on how to engage and collaborate effectively with a wide range of individuals with possibly different teams on how to drive their plan for addressing that identified organizational issue. So this is a skill we want them not just to develop, but get to apply with their involvement with a specific organization. Right, so this slide is a follow-on to the previous slide where the learners have the opportunity or the stage in their learning to question and actively reflect on their workplace practice. So they question whatever actions they take. Now, in view of that um, issue they have identified to focus on or address within a specific organization, they've got to now begin to implement tailored activities to address that. Now, you'll notice that I called it smart activities. So the learners have got to define or identify activities that they've got to carry out that are measurable. So at some point, the events they attend, the activities they undertake to address that issue have got to be activities they can eventually measure their impact on that organization. So as shown on this slide, the learners have an opportunity to demonstrate new learning, to showcase the skills they may have developed in the process or enhanced in the process of undertaking these tailored activities. And of course, in relation to that specific organization that is under consideration. We're still in the stage or the phase of the learner's journey in their business postgraduate degree study. So this is the stage where the learners question and actively reflect on their own workplace practice. I call this the juicy part. So this is where they are making their value count visible to the organization. In one word, what recommendations, solutions do they offer that organization? Now, having undertaken a number of tailored activities, what practical solutions, recommendations do they offer the organization? As outlined on this slide, the learners have got to ensure that they provide clarity on how the recommendations would be monitored, on how those proposed solutions would be evaluated. They've also got to take into consideration the cost implications of the recommendations. So you see, there's a variety or dynamics around decision making here, and they've got to question really actively what proposals that they are making to that organization, endeavoring to ensure that they are relevant to the organization. And this is about enriching business practice. So to summarize my presentation, the business degree structure that I discussed here has continued corporate involvement and partnership at the heart of it. Now, this particular master's business degree structure offers the learners the opportunity to critically reflect on real life issues. They have the environment to apply analysis through a variety of relevant activities and eventually provide practical, sustainable recommendations to a particular business. And of course, it's about enriching business practice. So my question is, why wouldn't higher education institutions enrich workplace practice with their visible corporate partnership in their business degree structures? Thank you. I've got my contact details on the slide.